conducted on World Water Day, the World Environment Day, and World Habitat Day. The lecture series was inaugurated on June 5th, 2015, the World Environment Day, by Padma Shri architect G. Shankar. This was followed by a string of lectures with several eminent personalities contributing their valuable inputs and insights on sustainable development. Today, we have here amidst us engineer UN Ravikumar, who is a teacher and a pioneer in the field of sustainable practices for environmental protection. I welcome the prominent leaders from various walks of life who are here to listen to him and to discuss and deliberate on sustainable development. പ്രിയമുള്ളവരെ, സുസ്ഥിര വികസനത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രാധാന്യം വിളിച്ചോതി വർഷത്തിൽ 3 തവണ അസറ്റ് ഹോംസ് സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന പ്രഭാഷണ പരമ്പര മികവുറ്റ വികസന സങ്കല്പങ്ങളിലേക്ക് നയിക്കുന്ന അർത്ഥവത്തായ ആശയങ്ങൾ രൂപീകരിക്കുവാൻ വഴിയൊരുക്കുന്നു. ഇതിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായി ലോക പരിസ്ഥിതി ദിനമായ ഇന്ന് പരിസ്ഥിതി സംരക്ഷണത്തിനായുള്ള സുസ്ഥിര വികസന മാതൃകകൾ സ്വന്തം പരീക്ഷണ നിരീക്ഷണങ്ങളിലൂടെ വികസിപ്പിച്ചെടുത്ത സുപ്രസിദ്ധ പരിസ്ഥിതി പ്രവർത്തകനും അധ്യാപക ശ്രേഷ്ഠനുമായ ശ്രീ UN രവികുമാർ നമ്മോട് സംവദിക്കുന്നു. ജീവിക്കുവാനുള്ള നെട്ടോട്ടത്തിനിടയിൽ അമ്മ ഭൂമിയുടെ സൗന്ദര്യവും സൗരഭ്യവും കണ്ട് ആസ്വദിക്കുവാൻ പോലും മറന്നുപോകുന്ന നമ്മൾക്ക് ഇന്നിവിടെ അല്പനേരം തിരക്കുകൾ മാറ്റിവെച്ചിരിക്കാം. ഈ പ്രഭാഷണം ശ്രവിക്കാം, ഉരുത്തിരിയുന്ന ആശയങ്ങൾ പരസ്പരം പങ്കുവയ്ക്കാം. അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ ക്ഷണം സ്വീകരിച്ചെത്തിയിരിക്കുന്ന നിങ്ങൾ ഓരോരുത്തരെയും ഏറെ സ്നേഹത്തോടെ സന്തോഷത്തോടെ സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. Let's begin the evening with an invocation. I request the audience to kindly be seated while we watch the prayer video. സർവചരാചരങ്ങളെയും കാലുഷ്യമേതുമില്ലാതെ നമുക്ക് സ്നേഹിക്കുവാൻ കഴിയുമാറാകട്ടെ എന്ന പ്രാർത്ഥനയോടെ തുടങ്ങുകയാണ്. ദയവായി ഇരിപ്പിടത്തിൽ തുടരുക. വളർച്ചയുടെ പടവുകൾ പ്രതിപാദിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ലഘുചിത്രമാണിനി.
Without doubt, Asset Homes is now Kerala's first choice when it comes to selecting a home. The CRISIL DA2 citation was received by Asset Homes brand ambassador, the youth icon of Kerala, Prithviraj. And yes, we continue the journey of building a new Kerala responsibly.
ഇനി മുന്നോട്ടുള്ള യാത്രയിൽ ഈ റേറ്റിംഗിന് എന്തുകൊണ്ടും അനുയോജ്യമാണ് എന്ന് വീണ്ടും സ്വയം തിരിച്ചറിയുന്ന വിധമുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനമായിരിക്കും ഞങ്ങളുടേത് എന്ന് എന്റെ വാക്ക് ഇന്നിവിടെ വെച്ച് ഞാൻ തരുന്നു.
Asset Homes have left their indelible footprints across Kerala. Asset Signature, the landmark project at Kazhakkottam, Thiruvananthapuram, became the first completed apartment project in Kerala to win the highest CRISIL 7-star rating. Asset Casa Grande, the iconic waterfront sky villas at Thevara, Kochi, joined the league soon with yet another CRISIL 7-star rating. Asset Kasava, an aristocratic villa project at Kalamassery, Kochi, became the first villa project in South India to earn a CRISIL 7-star rating. Asset Homes is today the first builder in India with 3 CRISIL 7-star rated residential projects to its credit. Unflinching efforts to create new benchmarks of quality, robust engineering and uncompromised business ethics have fetched Asset Homes numerous national and international accolades. Asset Homes enjoy unwavering loyalty from customers across 36 countries of the world as we continue to deliver consistently our 7 distinctive brand promises. Over the years, Asset Homes have established credibility as one of the most trusted builders who complete and deliver quality projects on time. Quality guarantees the reliability and responsibility of our brand. Our latest initiative in ensuring quality is QLab, a mobile civil engineering laboratory launched by Catherine Carlton, the worshipful mayor of Menlo Park, USA. Asset Homes have been consistently innovative, blending functional design with refined aesthetics to enhance the lives and investments of our customers. Being socially and environmentally conscious, Asset Homes always lead the way towards a smarter and more sustainable future by creating nature-friendly living environments. Asset Homes replanted a centenarian mango tree under expert guidance to give way to a new project, Asset Bellevue, thus setting a new paradigm in environmental conservation. For Asset Homes, customers always come first. By introducing Asset Delight, an array of 17 unique customer services, Asset Homes have gone several extra miles to keep the customers happy. Delight Drive for airport pickup, 25-year free insurance for apartments, and Delight Serve, a mobile app for booking maintenance services are some of them.
Asset Delight, നമ്മുടെ സ്വപ്നത്തിന്റെ വില സമയത്തിന്റേതു കൂടിയാണ്. Asset Homes അതറിയുന്നു, വിലമതിക്കുന്നു.
Every Asset Homes property is a reputed address. Its choice location, unique architecture, unmatched facilities and quality lifestyle lend distinctive social esteem and appeal to the owner. Asset Homes also fulfill our responsibility to the society through unique initiatives like Asset Treedan. Asset Homes offer a teak sapling to parents of all baby girls born at affiliated hospitals. The tree grows with the baby, thus creating an asset that will later on help her realize her most desired dreams.
ഇവൾക്ക് ശക്തി പകരാം, പ്രകൃതിയെ ഉർവരമാക്കാം, ഒരു തേക്കിൻ തൈ നടാം ഓരോ മകൾക്കും വേണ്ടി.
Asset Homes have taken an urgent step to fulfill our responsibility towards the nation and its people through Asset Beyond Square Feet, a triannual lecture series to discuss and promote ideas on sustainable living. The talks are conducted on the World Environment Day, the World Habitat Day, and the World Water Day across select cities of Kerala. At the heart of the noble vision of Asset Homes is our most gifted pool of employees, and they are the foundation stones on which our success stories are built. Our multifaceted talent pool was the overall champions of the Kradai Fest. Quality in delivery, customer-centric approach, innovative concepts in living, futuristic approach to sustainability, and undying commitment to the community are some of the features that help Asset Homes stand apart among peers, creating a niche in Kerala's real estate industry. No wonder we have become the first choice for Kerala's home aspirants.
Asset, responsibly yours.
Thank you. And now let me request Mr. Sunil Kumar V, Managing Director, Asset Homes, to formally welcome the dignitaries and the guests. Engineer മികച്ച സംരംഭകൻ എന്നിവയേക്കാൾ ഉപരി പ്രകൃതി സ്നേഹി, മാതൃഭാഷാ സ്നേഹി എന്നീ വിശേഷണങ്ങളാകാം ഒരുപക്ഷെ അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ സാരഥി ശ്രീ സുനിൽ കുമാറിന് കൂടുതൽ ചേരുക. സ്വാഗതമോതുവാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ക്ഷണിക്കുകയാണ്.
ആദരണീയനായ വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥി ശ്രീ രവികുമാർ സർ, ബഹുമാനരായ ക്ഷണിക്കപ്പെട്ട വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥികളെ, അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ കുടുംബാംഗങ്ങളെ, ഇന്നാണ് ഇടവപ്പാതി ആരംഭിച്ചതെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. കാരണം ഏകദേശം 3 മണി മുതൽ തകർത്ത് പെയ്യുന്ന ഈ മഴയുടെ ഇടയിലും ഭൂമി എന്ന സങ്കല്പവും പരിസ്ഥിതിയും എല്ലാം ചർച്ച ചെയ്യാനും അതിനെപ്പറ്റി കേൾക്കുവാനും ഇത്രയും ആളുകൾ ഇവിടെ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നത് ആ വിഷയത്തോട് എറണാകുളത്തെ പക്വമതികളായ ജനത കാണിക്കുന്ന താല്പര്യത്തെയാണ് എടുത്തു കാണിക്കുന്നത് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു. അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ ഈ ഒരു സംരംഭം 2 വർഷം മുമ്പ് ആരംഭിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇത്തരമൊരു സംഭാഷണത്തിന് പരിസ്ഥിതി സംരക്ഷണവുമായി എന്താണ് പ്രസക്തി എന്നൊരു ചോദ്യം പലപ്പോഴും ഉയർന്നു കേട്ടിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഇന്ന് വളരെ സന്തോഷത്തോടെ എടുത്തു പറയാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം, കഴിഞ്ഞ പ്രാവശ്യം ഈ ടോക്ക് നമ്മൾ ഫേസ്ബുക്കിലൂടെ ലൈവായിട്ട് ടെലികാസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ ലോകത്തിൻ്റെ വിവിധ ഭാഗങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നായിട്ട് അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ കസ്റ്റമേഴ്സ് അടക്കം 3000-ഓളം ആളുകൾ വീക്ഷിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി എന്നുള്ളതിന് വലിയൊരു അംഗീകാരമായിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ കണക്കാക്കുകയാണ്. നമുക്കറിയാം, പ്രകൃതിയെപ്പറ്റി സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ സമുദ്രവസനേ ദേവി പർവ്വതസ്ഥന മണ്ഡലേ വിഷ്ണുപത്നി നമസ്തുഭ്യം പാദസ്പർശം ക്ഷമസ്വമേ. ഓ മദർ എർത്ത് ഹു ഈസ് ഹാവിംഗ് ഓഷ്യൻസ് ആസ് ഹർ ഗാർമെൻറ്റ്സ്, mountains as her bosom, who is a consort of Sri Vishnu, I bow you to please forgive me for touching you with my feet. സഹസ്രാബ്ദങ്ങൾ മുമ്പ് ഭാരതഖണ്ഡത്തിലെ മുഴുവൻ നിവാസികളും ആചരിച്ചുവെന്നും ഇന്നും ഒരു ന്യൂനപക്ഷമെങ്കിലും ആചരിച്ചു പോരുന്നതുമായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രഭാത ക്ഷമാ പ്രാർത്ഥനയിലെ ആദ്യത്തെ വരിയാണ് ഞാൻ ഉദ്ധരിച്ചത്. ഈ ഭൂമിയെയും പ്രകൃതിയെയും പ്രപഞ്ചത്തെയും ആകെ തന്നെയും മാതാവായി കണക്കാക്കി തൻ്റെ പാദസ്പർശനത്തിന് മുമ്പ് അതിന് മാപ്പ് ചോദിക്കുന്ന മഹത്തായ ഒരു സംസ്കൃതിയുടെ പിന്തുടർക്കാരാണ് ഭാരതീയരായ നാം എല്ലാവരും. പ്രകൃതിയെ കാലുകൊണ്ട് സ്പർശിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് മാപ്പ് അപേക്ഷിക്കുന്ന സംസ്കാരം. അതിൽ നിന്നാണ് ഇന്ന് പ്രകൃതിക്ക് വേണ്ടി പ്രസംഗങ്ങളും പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിലേക്കും എത്തിച്ചേരുന്ന അവസ്ഥയിലേക്ക് നമ്മൾ ചെന്നെത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ഓരോ ഉപഭോക്താവിനോടും ഓരോ തൊഴിലാളിയോടും ഓരോ പ്രൊജക്റ്റിനോടും നാട്ടിലുള്ള നിയമ സംവിധാനങ്ങളോടും ഉത്തരവാദിത്തമുള്ളവരായിരിക്കുക എന്ന അടിസ്ഥാന പ്രമാണത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാഗം തന്നെയാണ് പ്രകൃതിയോടും പരിസ്ഥിതിയോടും ഉത്തരവാദിത്തമുള്ളവരായിരിക്കുക എന്നുള്ളത്. ആ വിശ്വാസത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രതിഫലനമാണ് ഊർജ്ജ സംരക്ഷണത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിലാണെങ്കിലും പ്രകൃതി വിഭവ ഉപഭോഗത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിലാണെങ്കിലും വനവൽക്കരണത്തിൻ്റെയും സംരക്ഷണത്തിൻ്റെയും കാര്യത്തിലാണെങ്കിലും അസറ്റ് ഹോംസ് ഉയർത്തിപ്പിടിക്കുന്ന സുസ്ഥിര വികസനം എന്ന മഹത്തായ മുദ്രാവാക്യം. നിർമ്മാണ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾക്ക് പുറത്ത് സാമൂഹ്യ പ്രതിബദ്ധത നമ്മുടെ മുഴുവൻ കാഴ്ചപ്പാടുകൾക്കും ഊന്നൽ നൽകുന്നതാണ് എന്ന വിശ്വാസം ഉയർത്തിപ്പിടിക്കാൻ ഞങ്ങൾ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു. കേരളത്തിലെ വിവിധ നഗരങ്ങളിലെ പ്രമുഖ ആശുപത്രികളുമായി സഹകരിച്ച് അസറ്റ് ഹോംസ് നടപ്പിലാക്കുന്ന ട്രീഥൻ എന്ന CSR ആക്ടിവിറ്റി ജനിക്കുന്ന ഓരോ പെൺകുഞ്ഞിനും ആദ്യത്തെ ഉപഹാരമായി ഒരു മരം നൽകുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഈ രംഗത്ത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ശക്തമായ മറ്റൊരു കാൽവയ്പ്പാണ് ലോക പരിസ്ഥിതി ദിനം, ലോക പാർപ്പിട ദിനം, ലോക ജലദിനം എന്നീ ദിവസങ്ങളിൽ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ബിയോണ്ട് സ്ക്വയർ ഫീറ്റ് എന്ന ഈ പ്രഭാഷണ പരമ്പര. ഏതടിസ്ഥാന വിശ്വാസത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിലായാലും പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളോടൊപ്പം നിൽക്കേണ്ട ഒന്നാണ് പ്രഭാഷണങ്ങളും എന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. ചിന്താശകലങ്ങൾ സംപ്രേഷണം ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ സംഭവിക്കുന്നത് ആശയങ്ങളുടെ വിലയിരുത്തലുകളാണ്. ഒരു നല്ല പ്രഭാഷകൻ്റെ ഓരോ വരിയും ഓരോ വാക്കും ഒരാഹ്വാനമാണ്. ബിയോണ്ട് സ്ക്വയർ ഫീറ്റ് എന്ന പ്രഭാഷണ പരമ്പരയുടെ ഈ വേദിയിൽ നിന്നുയരുന്ന ഒരു വാചകമെങ്കിലും ഇവിടെ ഇന്ന് കൂടിയിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു മനുഷ്യനെയെങ്കിലും സ്വാധീനിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് എങ്കിൽ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഈ പ്രയത്നം ഗുണകരമായി എന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. ഇന്ന് ഈ വേദിയിൽ നമ്മളോട് സംവദിക്കാൻ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിരിക്കുന്നത് ശ്രീ UN രവികുമാറാണ്. അധ്യാപകൻ എന്ന നിലയിലും പരിസ്ഥിതി പ്രവർത്തകൻ എന്നുള്ള നിലയിലും മൈസൂരിലെ പ്രവർത്തന മണ്ഡലങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് വളർന്ന് കർണാടകയിലും ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ വിവിധ ഭാഗങ്ങളിലും എല്ലാം തൻ്റെ സന്ദേശം എത്തിക്കുന്നതിൽ മഹത്തായ പങ്കുവഹിക്കുന്ന ശ്രീ UN രവികുമാർ സാറിനെ ഇന്ന് ഈ വേദിയിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ ലഭിച്ചത് ഒരു വലിയ മഹാഭാഗ്യമായിട്ട് ഞാൻ കരുതുന്നു. ടുഡേ, വിത്ത് all dignity and honor, I take this opportunity to welcome Engineer UN Ravikumar to this august audience for the 10th speech in this series of Beyond Square Feet. വളരെ മഴ തകർത്തു പെയ്യുന്ന അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിലും ഇവിടെ എത്തിച്ചേരുകയും ഈ ചിന്താശകലങ്ങൾ ഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നതിന് ഉള്ള പെയിനെടുത്ത് എത്തിച്ചേരുകയും ചെയ്ത മുഴുവൻ ശ്രോതാക്കളെയും ഈ വേദിയിലേക്ക് അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ ഞാൻ സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. ബിയോണ്ട് സ്ക്വയർ ഫീറ്റിൻ്റെ തുടർന്നുള്ള എഡിഷനുകളിലും അസറ്റ് ഹോംസിൻ്റെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിലും നിങ്ങളുടെ സഹകരണവും ആത്മാർത്ഥമായ പ്രാർത്ഥനയും ഉണ്ടാവണമെന്ന് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
Nandi sir. Gentlemen, now we come to the most important part of today's event. Engineer UN Ravikumar is a guru and a seer in the field of environmental conservation. A mechanical engineer from the University of Mysore, UN Ravikumar's career is notable for his research and contributions to sustainable development. He has specialized in technology and society interface work with special reference to development of appropriate technology interventions, sustainable development practices, and rural development. He is one of the pioneers in adopting eco-friendly practices like rainwater harvesting, sustainable sanitation, grey water recycling, wetland conservation, bioresources, and renewable energy systems, and environmental education. Ravikumar has translated his extensive findings from field research and experiments into teaching applications for the training of the upcoming generations of engineers and decision makers. Having taught engineering for 26 years, he established and managed Center for Appropriate Rural Technologies, CART, at the National Institute of Engineering, Mysore, Karnataka, for 16 years until his voluntary retirement as its director in 2008. He is currently engaged in promoting ecosystem approach and sustainability practices. He is a distinguished fellow of Schumacher Institute, UK, member of National Academic Committee, Department of Science and Technology, NCSE, New Delhi, and member of Biodiversity Board, Mysuru. Several institutions have recognized his meritorious service and contributions to the field of sustainable development and education. He received the Rotary Vijaya Vocational Award in 1996. He was conferred the Independence Day honor in 2002 for service in the cause of environment by Karnataka State Open University. He was awarded the Best Engineer by Lions Club Mysore South in 2004. He was awarded the S. Govindaraj Best Engineer Award by Rotary Club Mysore North in 2007. ഇന്നത്തെ നമ്മുടെ വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥി മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ബിരുദധാരിയായ ശ്രീ UN രവികുമാറാണ്. സുസ്ഥിര വികസനത്തിന് അദ്ദേഹം ഏറെ വിലപ്പെട്ട സംഭാവനകൾ നൽകിയിട്ടുള്ള വ്യക്തിയാണ്. പരിസ്ഥിതി സംരക്ഷണം തൻ്റെ ജീവിത ദൗത്യമായി ഏറ്റെടുത്തിട്ടുള്ള ഇദ്ദേഹം മഴവെള്ള സംഭരണം, സുസ്ഥിര ശുചിത്വം, മലിനജല പുനരുപയോഗം, ചതുപ്പ് നില സംരക്ഷണം തുടങ്ങിയവയിലൊക്കെ ഏറെ അനുകരണീയമായ മാതൃകകൾ തീർത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഈ മേഖലയിൽ നടത്തി വന്നിട്ടുള്ള നിരന്തരമായ പരീക്ഷണ നിരീക്ഷണങ്ങളിലൂടെ ഉരുത്തിരിഞ്ഞ ആശയങ്ങൾ എഞ്ചിനീയർമാർക്കടക്കം തൻ്റെ വലിയ ശിഷ്യ സമ്പത്തിന് പകർന്നു നൽകുവാനും 26 വർഷം നീണ്ട തൻ്റെ അധ്യാപന കാലത്ത് ഇദ്ദേഹത്തിനായിട്ടുണ്ട്. സെൻറ്റർ ഫോർ അപ്രോപ്രിയേറ്റ് റൂറൽ ടെക്നോളജീസ്, കാർട്ട്, തൻ്റെ ഗവേഷണ ഫലങ്ങളും ആശയങ്ങളും പുതുതലമുറയിലേക്ക് പകരുവാൻ ഇദ്ദേഹം സ്ഥാപിച്ച ഈ സ്ഥാപനം വളരെ ഫലപ്രദമായി വിജയകരമായി ഈ രംഗത്ത് പ്രവർത്തിച്ചു വരുന്നു. ഒട്ടേറെ പുരസ്കാരങ്ങളും ബഹുമതികളും ഈ കാലയളവിൽ ഇദ്ദേഹത്തെ തേടിയെത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. May I now invite Engineer UN Ravikumar to share with us his insights and experiences and his inputs on the topic, environment and people. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome our chief guest.
Glad to be here with you. Yesterday when I came, I was welcomed by the asset plus the rains in Kochi. I was just going through the net to see what the world was looking at, World Environment Day. It was all color green. Everything was green. Buildings, everything made to look. It shows the outpouring of feelings of people as to how they view the Environment Day. They want to see their world as a green place. The theme of this year is connecting people to nature. From your backyard to your national park, just discover, go out and discover. But this raises a very interesting question. When we say connecting people to nature, when did we get disconnected? Because my understanding is we are inherently embedded and part of nature. If you look at the invocation that was done and the welcome that was made, it is always with great reverence to nature. We always worship nature. Tribal societies, even today, believe in nature as their God and live in that style. Somewhere in our process of development, there has been a big disconnect. So today what I am going to try to do is look at this disconnect a little bit and see how connection can be better. So the theme is environment and people. We are so much part of it. Because without the interconnection of all the beings, it's not possible to live. So the basic foundation of Earth is in diversity, the biodiversity. If we call Kerala God's own country, it is because of the diversity. So it is this diversity that's important. What does diversity means? Diversity is about everything. It's an issue of sustenance. It's an issue of justice. It's an issue of water. Climate issue connected with diversity. It's a peace issue because we are looking for a non-violent, peaceful political order for change. It's a livelihood issue. It's a knowledge issue, and it's a food issue. We see that the biodiversity is the basis of our understanding. So let me go back and see the roots of this disconnect. I look at the environmental conflicts in India, both from colonial and pre-colonial times. India, in colonial times, we saw the development of a conflict because people were basically ecosystem people. Harvest, nurture resources so that that kind of livelihood can last a long time. But once the industrialization took place, this mode of development changed. So instead of a peasant and it became a conflict between the peasant and industrial mode of resource extraction. 70s and 80s, because post-independence India was following the Western modes of development. That time, Nehru had claimed that dams are the temples of modern India. But 20 years down the lane, we started seeing problems. People woke up to many realities. There are few examples of such conflicts in India. One of them being the Chipko movement. The post-China war, India realized that the northeastern states were very poorly connected, so went into a drive of building roads, which also meant very good extraction of natural resources from the place. Particularly in Garhwal, the forests were threatened by this kind of a development. One fine day, the trees there were to be given out for a bat-making company. So they were leased out. They knew that the people would resist. People were diverted by a temptation saying there is some compensation being distributed in the next town. And when the menfolk came, people came to cut the trees. But in a village, people are very observant. A young girl noticed an outside van coming with people inside with axes, warned the women folk. They came, hugged the tree, and convinced the people to go back. They broke a bridge in the way so that tomorrow morning they don't come back. So once the men folk came back, there was increased resistance and the people were driven back. So this has become an icon of what people can do. So people's connection with their natural resources, which is so close to them. There is a historic reference also where in 1731, Bishnoi community tried to protect the trees from a king who wanted to fell the Kejri trees, which is very reverent to them. So many people died in that. The memory was still fresh. So in India, we are replete with such stories of people standing up to their living gods, which is nature. So this actually triggered off such a reaction all over India. People started hugging trees and protecting. In Karnataka, there is Appiko. In Kerala, everywhere, people trying to protect their natural resources. Silent Valley of Kerala itself has been an icon. So in the 80s, 70s and 80s, when the dam was to be built in Silent Valley, there was such widespread protests all over India simultaneously. It also brought out a lot of creative abilities of people in expression. There are writers, poets coming forward. There are people in the streets trying to express their concern. The protection, and also a lion-tailed macaque became an icon of conservation here. So we need to identify, we need to find our love somewhere in there. Then there was the Bhopal gas tragedy, which brought out in vivid terms the risk we are taking in an industrial world. And also, in a populated area, how situating industry, because business as usual is not possible anymore. There was huge tragedy. It was one of the biggest chemical disasters or industrial disasters in the world. But what have we learned from there is a question. So this myth of development, or the conventional pattern of development, continued. Narmada Valley, once Kalpavriksha raised the voice about what is happening in the Narmada Valley, a whole series of dams being built. What is its implication? Ecological and social implication. About 1 million people were to be displaced. See, in the earlier generation of temples of modern India, every dam had a huge population displaced, which was taken for granted. For India's development, certain sacrifices have to be made. But then the question is, who is going to pay that cost? Who is going to sacrifice us? Whose benefit? Is it justified? That's a question that is being raised. So government also woke up that it can't have its say. It can't, overrule people's opinion. It saw a massive amount of people's participation. People went all because it was their life and livelihoods. Displacement is such a disruption for people and their social fabric. We saw some unprecedented protests. People standing in waist-deep water for days in protest. Since then, many decisions have been taken and the dam levels have been raised, but government has woken up to the reality that rehabilitation has to be real and it has to be delivered. In 90s, issues were changing. There's dams, globalization and liberalization, industrialization, increasing pollution, and global warming emerging as an issue, agriculture, forests, and tribal issues. Issues, strategies, and politics were changing. They were not localized anymore. It is not a local issue. Even dam, because there are people undergoing similar things elsewhere in the country and elsewhere in the world. So people are waking up. There is an agricultural disaster happening with modernization. So from not localized, it was not anti-feudal, it was not anti-capital, it was more critical capitalist. Untypical movements like Cargill, Monsanto we saw, where people were protesting against the entry of these multinational. They were only symbolic, but they just wanted to make a point. That's what they did. Meanwhile, Green Revolution had set foot in India and being advocated in a big way and seen as the liberation of India's hunger. But looking back, there are a lot of myths about the Green Revolution. High-yielding varieties versus high-responsive varieties. So it's not actually high-yielding, it is high-responsive varieties. To do that, a lot of inputs were required. And today, when we look back, it concentrated only on increase in marketable output rather than the crop residue and fodder, which is part of an agrarian requirement. High water consumption, decrease in ecosystem productivity due to overuse of resources. Today, in agriculture, the biggest tragedy is the primary productivity of the land is coming down, which is maintained by secondary inputs. So we are relying more on the secondary productivity rather than the primary productivity, which resulted in loss of biodiversity, increase in pesticide use, soil erosion, water shortages, and social impact. Today, if I go to Punjab, salinity is a very serious problem. There is a train in Punjab called the cancer train. The incidence of cancer has increased tremendously. So a critique of green revolution, mining, that is increased extraction of resources, climate change. Every year in 90s, late 90s, there is a report saying this is the hottest year in the century. Right from 96 to 2000, every year we are saying it is hotter and hotter. Then water and sanitation emerging as a very serious issue. Coca-Cola, an example from Kerala again. The multinationals making their inroads into India. In Plachimada, Coca-Cola plant was established. And their resource extraction of water, it is water that is value added as Coca-Cola. But that extraction of water and rejection of waste created havoc in the community. See, water is not yet seen as a common property resource. It's a very opportunistic development that is taking place. And it came to a conflicting point in Kerala. So many things happened. Went to court. Then finally Coca-Cola won. But they won in the court but lost with people. That's why Coca-Cola moved out. The point is very clear. People have very creative expressions you will find about this. Today the situation is such that you go to any Indian village, it's very difficult to find clean water. But Coca-Cola is available 24/7. That is the market forces that we see. 2000, the issues were that of inequity, global warming, climate change, globalization, and the agrarian crisis, conservation, and the rural-urban divide. Resistance took different forms, new social movements, coalition of social movements, and networking. Because the problems were very interlinked. There's a social concern somebody is trying to tackle, somebody is about environment, but these are not separate. These have interlinks with each other. So that's why groups started coming together to address the issue. Indian farmer suicide never became an issue. It was just statistics that remained there. There's a critique of globalization, but not many alternatives. It also saw the fresh inroads being made into India's agriculture by way of GM brinjal. This again brought out from nook and corner of India, people reacted and protested against it. But GM brinjal went back, now GM mustard is in front of us. So this disconnect, I want to go back. This conflict shows us that the development pattern has been creating great havoc in the society and creating the disconnect. I want to go back and see what is the kind of connect that was there. Water as a theme, I would like to highlight. Water was worshipped in India. People who visited India earlier, they called Indian culture as a water culture. People worship water here. They were surprised. I go to schools and talk to children. When I ask children, where do you get your water from? Everybody knows it's from the tap, sir. Where does the water come to that? From the overhead tank. Where does water come to the overhead tank? In Mysore, people say it is from the reservoir, KRS dam. Where does water come to that? They say there is always water there. So this is the kind of disconnect. The rainfall comes later. Somehow the water here and rainfall are not really related. So this is the kind of concept. Then I ask children a question. Is water your friend? They all raise their hands, says water is my friend. My next question is, if I ask the same question to water, whether these people are your friend, what does it say? Yes or no? Children are very honest. They don't lie. Immediately, no hands are raised. They all know that this relationship is not reciprocal. We call water a friend, but we damn well know that water doesn't consider us as a friend. So first step, forget about worshipping it. At least friendship should be mutual, isn't it? I think today our point is that we'll start there. Friendship is first. It can't be one-sided. So today, if our culture has to be talked about, if the same visitors had come, they would call our culture as a gutter culture, not as water culture. From water, we have come down to a gutter culture. Every town and city today, you can make out the magnitude by seeing the wastewater channels that tell you the magnitude of the city. Throughout India, we such reverence for water, such love for water. I always used to wonder, you go to Amritsar, the water body is so clean, so clean. It gives you a sense of serenity and peace. Water has such quality. Everywhere in temples and such spiritual places, water is given a very prime importance because it stands for purity. This picture here, the second picture here, is from Hampi. It's about 600 years old. The engineering practice started in India in the world about 180 years back, engineering courses. But the practice of engineering has been in India for ages, for millennia. I always used to wonder, why did they spend so much of time and effort in doing it? It's a lot of hard work. There are no earth movers and machineries. There's only one message that comes from there. India has had many droughts. People who had experienced droughts had one thing in their mind, that their children should never suffer this. They wanted to give a strong message. They even inscribed such things. It is like putting our environment to our syllabus. It becomes one more lesson to be read and forgotten. But this is the act of love which they want to evoke in us. They are the living testimonials. Not only these ponds, the kolams of Kerala, Madakas of South Canara and Karnataka, they are all representative of this practice of reverence for water. If you go to Gujarat, you will see the step wells there. Beautiful step well. 4-floor, 5-floor structures underground. Outside temperature is about 43 to 45. Inside temperature is 36 to 37. There is water. The lowest level, there is a well with water. The god there is water. The rest is all incidental. So they had created such wonderful, imaginative structures for water and people. I'd like to take you through a small trip about our water. Why I do this is when I ask children, today we are all well informed. If I ask children, do you know about water? They know about water. They know that it's H2O, everything. But few simple questions about water, they all fail. We are all in the same boat. If I ask somebody, how much water do you consume? Because we have never measured it. Ask people, how much do you pay for water? Then also we will have to think we don't really know how much we are paying for the water. The world average is something like this. 8% domestic, 22% industrial, and agricultural use about 70%. In a developed country, domestic use is about 11, industrial 59, agricultural use 30. This somehow makes us think that they have become smarter in their agricultural water application. Partly true. Domestic, in a developing country like India, domestic is about 8%, industrial use 10, and agriculture is about 82%. This is partly because of the virtual water. I'll explain how. Now, why I show this is, we all are trying to conserve, reduce water consumption at home. We can only reduce a little, we can't stop it, right? So it's only 8%, is it worth doing it? If I ask, can you reduce industrial use or agricultural use, say we have nothing to do with it. We can't do it. It's a farmer or the industry that has to do it. But it's still in our hand. If we make up our mind, we can definitely reduce. I would like to explain how. A survey revealed, if I ask children, they'll say, I use only 30 liters, I use 50 liters, because we have never measured. A survey revealed this is the kind of water use pattern in Mysore, and in Cochin it will certainly be more. Drinking 3 liters, cooking 4, bathing 20, flushing toilet about 40, washing clothes 25, washing utensils, garden, total is 135. This is the urban standard. Bulk water is used for flushing the toilet, and it is the drinking water that is being used. Even if there is a shortage, there is a drought going on, no change takes place here because this is taken for granted. I want to talk to you about water footprint. There is a water footprint. My shoe size is number 8, so my footprint size should be 8. But when I turn back, my water footprint is number 48 to 68. So is yours. Let's see how. One is this 135 liters. That itself looks like a lot of water per day. To keep our food going, to produce that 3000 kilocalories of energy, the water required per person per day to grow food is about 3500 liters. A farmer is spending this water on your behalf. Let me show you some more indirect consumption patterns, because that is very visible. If you go shopping, I come back, I take a cloth bag, but when I come back, it's full of plastics. I open it and put it to garbage. I measured it. Every week I'm putting away at least 1 kilo of plastic. That's 52 kilos of plastic in a year. The water required to produce is 1 lakh liters. Just imagine this is a plastic, it is of no use to me except till I bring it from the shop. After that, it becomes a waste. So we are not only generating waste, to do that, we are also spending a lot of water. The moment we become literate, one of the things we do is start reading newspapers. Production of one newspaper for you in a year requires 3 lakh liters of water. So if we have, again, my next question to children is, who uses more water and abuses more water? Literate or illiterate people? Children know it's always literate people. One, illiterate people don't have much access to water as we do. So in India, there is a shocking revelation. There is a negative correlation between literacy and water literacy. The more literate we become, less literate we become. Water literacy is being reduced. Very frightening. So what we need is more education, not a water literacy. Let me show you what is the water consumption. 1 ton of meat, to produce 1 ton or 1000 kgs of meat, we require about 5 crore liters of water. Why? Meat cannot be produced by itself. You need water, fodder, grass. That conversion efficiency, if we take into consideration, this is the quantum of water. To produce milk, that's 1 ton of milk, 1 crore liters of water is required. Again, same conversion efficiencies. So the virtual water of the West I was talking about is, if they import 1 ton of meat, it is like importing 5 crore liters of water. So a lot of water trade indirectly takes place. To produce rice, 50 lakh liters is required to produce 1 ton of rice. The same thing, for newspaper, 1 ton of newspaper, you require about 7.5 lakh liters of water. To produce maize, about 7 lakh. To wheat, about 5 lakhs. And there are millets which can be grown with only 4 lakh or 3 lakh liters of water. The biggest challenge in India, we see that bulk of the available irrigation water is used to grow sugar cane or paddy. Again, asking children which is the biggest disease in India, they all say diabetes, sugar disease. It's an irony. We are using most of our water to grow sugar cane and paddy, whereas our diet should have been entirely different, which is water conservative. Today in Karnataka, there is a big comeback being made. Millets are coming back in a big way. One, not because of enlightenment. Doctors are telling them that don't use rice so much. Diversify your diet. So now, looking back, the water footprint is increasing because of our consumption of other resources. Though they are not directly related, they are related with our footprint. So if we have to reduce the industrial mode of consumption, we have to reduce our consumption itself. We have to be very conservative. When we talk about water, we are only talking about our concern. But what happens to water after we use is a very serious concern. 80% of the towns in India don't have a water treatment facility. Everybody is provided with water, but what happens to water? It's nobody's business. India's reality is we get our rains in 50 to 100 days. We need to manage it for the remaining 300 days. This our ancestors had learned and systematically created water harvesting structure. Today, in just 4 or 5 decades back, electrification happened, pumps came, we started pumping water. Till then, the mother used to warn in the house because she had to fetch the water, be very careful about water, use it like money. But the moment we started pumping water, even the mother's dialogue changed. Clean well, wash twice, use generously. See, this mindset change. Now, our agricultural operations pump a lot of pesticides and fertilizer into water. Apart from the... Now, talking about coming back to our biodiversity, wetlands, where the 3 spheres meet, atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere, soil, water and air meet, that is where abundance of life is there. In fact, Kerala's secret of biodiversity is because you have the most biodiverse places. The 3 most productive wetlands on earth are coastal wetlands, number 1. Second is the tropical rainforest. Third is the inland wetlands. You have all of them. But looking around, the biggest problem is the very beauty of our natural resources itself is detrimental to us. Imagine our growing cities. There is decreasing common property resources and connect with nature. So what little water bodies are left, what little nature is left, is prized by everybody. The very number of people using it, still it destroys it. This is the fate of lakes in Bangalore. From an ecosystem, it just becomes a water tank. We start engineering it in such a way, it may look nice for a picture, but its ecosystem value is almost zero. At one time, there were some 120 species of birds there. Today, I find only 2 or 3 species of birds coming there. So what do we need inside our cities? Imagine tomorrow's biggest manpower is being trained in our cities. We were very lucky, though we were in urban areas, our grandparents were in the rural areas, there was a connect. But today the children are growing up, grandparents are living in multi-story buildings in the city itself. So where do they connect? So these wetlands within us are our only links with nature. Water harvesting or rainwater harvesting has been a tradition. People who have suffered for water have revered water. So if you go to Gujarat or Rajasthan, you will find extensive practice of rainwater harvesting. In Jaigarh Fort in Rajasthan, Jaipur, a fantastic system of harvesting 3 crore liters of water every year. This is a huge tank. It's a 3-floor building, underground, built with mortar, lime mortar and brick. Water is diverted to that. Rainwater comes, it goes to 2 tanks before it goes into this tank, so that all the dirty water is isolated and clean water enters. The dirty water is later used for washing animals, etc. Similarly, if I go to Alwar, 6 crore liters. So engineering has been, it's an ancient custom of India. In Gujarat, they have the practice of what is called tankas, underground cellars built for harvesting water. Rooftop is kept very clean, tiled, no walking with chappals. The water is harvested in the tank and withdrawn through a small well which they worship. So why it is very relevant today? Because at one time people from Kerala and Karnataka from the Western Ghats, they used to laugh at us. Why? Because of abundance rainfall, we forget that how to manage water. Only when we get into a shortage, we realize the importance of that, which happened in the last few years. It provides supplemental water. It's not to depend on the rainwater completely. It recharges groundwater due to urban crusting. Today, we are going to have both shortage of water and flooding simultaneously, because we are transforming land in such a rapid fashion, crusting, where 80% of water is percolating. Today, 80% of water is running off, creating floods. Reduces ecological footprint, like I was mentioning, helps manage urban floods and prevent salinity ingress in coastal areas. Particularly in Kerala, one has to be careful. The system of madakas and kolas, which harvested water, fresh water before it reaches the sea, are very important. I'm just showing you an example from Karnataka at the border of Kerala. This is very close to Manantwadi. This is the last village in Mysore called Gendattur. We did it as a challenge. Entire village, 157 houses, have a 5,000 liter tank like this, where they harvest the rainwater. They filter it in a simple fashion. This is a conical mesh filter to keep leaves out. This is what is called a first flush, so that the first 50 liters of water is diverted. And then water is collected in the tank, and there is a sand filter here through which it comes out. The point is, they are close to, one side is Kabini backwater, another is the Kakankote forest. But they depend on 3 borewells for water, because otherwise it's muddy, wild animals, etc. And being a last village, it's unknown. Their problems are unheard. Now the 157 houses, 5,000 liter tank, they harvest something like 20,000-30,000 liters per household. The logic is you require 5 liters of water which you consume, drinking and cooking water. So if you have about 10,800 liters of water in a year, that's what you actually consume. So these tanks holding 5,000 liters, during monsoon they use it for everything. End of monsoon, November, they have 5,000 liters in this. They withdraw, family of 6 withdraws 30 liters a day. They have enough water for the next 6 months. And this water can be one of the softest water that is possible. And this is 10 years old now. It's still working well. Then industries. Apart from rooftop harvesting, we started impressing them that harvest water in such a way, improve groundwater, but while doing it, have an ecosystem approach. In our engineering approach, we just look at a water body as a water tank, water holding tank, but it's also part of an ecosystem. So we step it out like this. This is an industry in Mysore. Only 2 acres of land. Rooftop harvesting is done. Runoff harvesting in a pond. When there is water, it is a pond. Otherwise, it's a nice landscape feature. Similarly, this is Mysore Polymers in Mysore. A step pond, inherently safe. It's not dangerous. Actually, it is very inviting. So the owners of this place tell me that these ponds are like a spiritual experience to us. It gives us a lot of peace in our industry. One is water harvesting to supplement our water requirements. Another is recycling of water is where we are failing. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I shed my board. I was looking at how to make it possible. So the best is when you do it yourself. I'll share my experience with you. This is a house in Mysore, a quarter-acre plot, individual house. Vastu says that your well has to be here, your wastewater has to be here. The next man's Vastu says the same thing. That which means I put my well away from my toilet and put it to somebody else's toilet. I mean, this logic doesn't hold water. So they said, let's try to treat it. Theoretically, it's possible. Let's put it to practice. Very simple. It's a little bigger than your septic tank. Making use of the biological. See, why I'm showing this is this understanding is part of nature. In lakes and ponds, if water treatment is taking place, it is because of the biomass out there. Same thing can be replicated. So water passes through the series of baffles, comes out. This is the sand bed filter and collects in a tank here, which is pumped up and used for flushing the toilet and gardening. 30 to 40% of your water is conserved with that. It is free of pathogens, free of smells. It may have some color, but it has some nutrient which is good for recycling. So finished system looks like this. And now this has been planted with plants. So it looks like a nice garden feature. Even when you are not at home, this is as long as you're using the system, there's lush greenery out there. Normally, if you go out of town for a week, your plants will be suffering. But these plants are there to welcome you when you come back. Another aspect is grey water. The bathroom water, the washing water, kitchen water, they can be very easily treated because there are very little pathogens in that before mixing it with other water. So a simple system. This is Green Hotel in Mysore, where their guest wings, they diverted the grey water. They thought they will hold it and use it in the garden, but the moment you store it, it starts smelling. It does need a simple treatment. One simple treatment is that this is a reed bed. Just a bed of pebbles where water flows through. The water level is just below the pebble level so that you will never see water and the associated problems. And a plant community that grows there specifically, that also helps in the treatment. So the water that comes out is free of odor, biologically stabilized, and can be reused. So I went one step further. Incidentally, my wife is an architect. That was a great help. So we could partner and build systems. This is a residence in Mysore, a 50-60 plot. In the backyard, you see a trench. This is actually a trough, L-shaped trough, which is filled with pebbles and plants. So the grey water enters from one side, flows through this and collects in the sump tank at this corner. So there is a small water feature. Once in a while, you just aerate it by recycling. So you have the gurgling water coming down, aerating it. So this water is used for flushing the toilet and gardening. See, where we are, it is possible to reduce our footprint. Connecting with nature is not going out and looking at nature. Bringing nature back home. Make it part of our living practice. This is yet another example from Mysore. She is a proud owner posing in front of the reed bed there. See, we can integrate very elegantly such systems. It's aesthetic and it's functional. Just summarizing it. A father is asking a child that he wants to clear the wetland and put it to other practice. This daughter is saying earlier, she's saying it's a place for biotechnology. Today, our eyes are very sharp for IT and BT. So father is asking, why? What is biotechnology? She's explaining. Look at this. This is where you find, we learn about life cycles, food webs, etc. Where do you get to see? This is the only place where you see such succession of life and symbiotic relationships. So losing this will be like losing a textbook, a living practical textbook in our midst. Cleaning water. The inlet and outlet, if you measure, the lake always serves as a cleaning body. So it does clean water. It's like a sponge. It's a shock absorber which can accommodate our floods and the products that come from there for livelihoods, for food. Finally, this much we understand, we fail to understand this part. What I learned is that ultimately wastewater is always treated by microorganisms. Mechanical engineers only build fans and motors and get away with it. just to enhance the process, but ultimately the job is done by bacteria. The lake beds have the necessary bacteria, both aerobic and anaerobic, which do the job. This is exactly what we do in our grey water treatment system. Strike a balance between both anaerobic and aerobic. Plants supply oxygen to the root zone and try to help it make aerobic so that it doesn't smell. And ultimately, result is this. Today in Germany, there are courses and practices being offered. In Düsseldorf, there is a department of applied limnology, which is the study of lakes. And they do what is called phytoremediation, using plants to treat water. This is a direction we have to move in. Today our water systems look like this. Nice rivers, water pumped up, used, food comes from the market, we use. Finally, actually waste comes out as different streams, feces, urine, grey water, etc. But by the time it comes out of the house, they all become one and become sewage. And we are under the assumption our engineers will have to somehow do something about this. If we don't do it at the base, doing it at the end is a very losing game. So what is possible? We are looking back. We are looking at the fundamental question of can it be done at the base? I'll show you a couple of examples. This is what is called ecological sanitation. The principle of ecological sanitation is that separate urine and feces. God has created in us in such a way, they come out separately. If he wanted, he could have combined it. There is a deliberate purpose in separating it. Feces is full of pathogens and very little nutrient. Urine is completely sterile, and 94% of the nutrient in human waste is in urine itself. So its implication is you contain it, store it, sanitize it, then use it. Practical example, there are plenty of toilets like this working. This is from the town of Kundapur, coastal town. The biggest problem there, people are very literate, very conscious, but the water table is so high, they can't build conventional toilets. With the rising tide levels, water level rises to 2 feet in the soil. All the toilets have failed, they put it to the water's edge and leave it to the water. So this came as a savior to them. So what is done is, the chamber is above ground level. This is actually a chamber covered with a slab. And the slab has 2 toilet openings like this. One is for feces, this is for urine. Now there are fiberglass pans like this. Feces and urine. Very little water is used. This is for annual wash. Annual wash. That water disappears into a small vegetative patch. Urine collected separately when mixed with 4 times water, 1 liter of urine, 4 liters of water, is an excellent plant nutrient. In the Agricultural University of Bangalore, 2 PhDs have been carried out and the results are amazing. They have applied urine to banana plantation. The result is that the yield has improved by 25 to 30% and the sweetness of banana has increased. So plants and animals are made for each other, we should not forget. Any sustainable community, there is a continuous relationship between plants and animals, which we are losing. So human beings are also not disconnected. Human urine is very, very beneficial for plants. So what evoked my interest is a very simple logic. Let me explain. The urine production of one person is 500 liters, not a big amount. And feces is about 50 liters. Very small amount, which is very easily handleable if they're isolated before it mixes with 50,000 liters of water. I was checking what is the nutrient level. The nutrient level is about 7 kilos of NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potash. Feces contains only 6% of the nutrient and urine contains about 94% of the nutrient. My next question was, what can you grow with so much of nutrient? With 7 kgs of NPK, what can you grow? 230 kilos of cereals can be grown, which means 1 man's waste is enough to grow 1 man's food for the entire year. So where is the problem? So population is not the problem for me. Lifestyle of people is a very serious problem. Because we anyway have to feed these millions. Wonderful, no problem. What happens next day? It is like Cinderella story. Story doesn't end here. Next day, what they do makes a big difference. There is something that we can learn from China. China had a very serious practice of conserving human waste and using it as manure. In fact, 100 years back, there was mafia controlling the territories for human waste. But we, as a nation, country, we have what is called fecophobia, which means we don't want to talk about feces and urine, such subjects, and we relegate it to the backyard. Till a time it comes on our own head. Today, time has come. We have to look at sustainable solutions. So for me, our grandchildren will have to do that. This luxury of water in sanitation is a thing of past. It won't be there in future. So your grandchildren will have to practice this. Shall we leave it to them or start the foundation today? That's a choice between us, before us. If we do that, scene will change very drastically. Water comes in, water is used. Human feces and urine are used as manure, and treated water gets back into our seas. This is the only way. It is not big technologies to treat water. It won't lead us anywhere. If we don't do it in the basics, we'll be in for very serious trouble. And you may ask a question, is it possible in a modern society? This looks like in a village it's possible. Today I don't have the video. Sweden, Stockholm, they've built such houses 20 years back. You have apartment blocks which have ecological sanitation. They've innovatively, what they've done is the ventilation is through the toilet. Water goes out through the toilet so that no smell comes out. The entire apartment block is evacuated through the toilet. Urine is collected, stored, and used it for agriculture. So imagine, there are mad people like this who are doing this. In Karnataka itself, we have about 600 such ecological sanitation units, just in HD Kote, border of Kerala. In Trichy, there is another madman called Subraman, a NGO called Scope. They have more than 6,000 such toilets working. And our vision is to build such public toilets. Instead of pay toilets in the conventional sense, people will be paid to use the toilet. Today in many places, people refuse to use the toilet because they have to pay. Here we start paying them. My students come back and tell me whenever they go to a bus stand or an airport, sir, there is such a river of urine flowing. All we have to do is, today there are water tankers bringing drinking water. We can take this out. Just outside our city, there is our agricultural lands, which is in dire need of nutrient. Yesterday our ministry has announced that 14,000 crores will be spent on importing urea next year. This, our own urea, we are putting it into our water and getting into serious problems. To do anything with water, if we want to conserve water, we need to conserve soil. Please remember, we can't conserve water without conserving soil. So soil conservation measures of contour trenches, etc., a lot of measures are there. But that is not sufficient. What saves soil is vegetation. Please remember. Every time I travel, I keep looking at the color of the river, whether it is Kaveri or Kabini or anything. After the rains, I see red water flowing there. It will be like chocolate. In a hilly terrain, a tilled land, you lose something like 2 tons to 20 tons of soil per acre. Today, we think that there is plenty of it, so we are not very much worried about it, but it's a matter of serious concern. So the only way to conserve soil is vegetation. This is what our ancestors did systematically. Harvest water in such a way. It's harvesting water is also harvesting energy. Very little energy is required. Your microclimate changes. And where it matters, you have the forest. The catchment forests are very important. So we are actually living on the nature's capital. We are, instead of treating nature as a capital, we are reusing it as an income, trying to encash it very rapidly. Lastly, I would like to give you one more insight. Looking at sustainability. Is organic agriculture possible? Sustainable agriculture is possible. Scientists tell me that it's very romantic. It's not possible. It's very difficult. So I was asking this question of what is the problem in our agriculture? There is a question of water availability, water application. Second is that of fertility. What I found out is the fertilizer that we apply, whether chemical or organic, bulk of it is lost, leached out. Especially if the rainfall is heavy, more is the loss of nutrient. So we keep on applying, much of it gets into our water and gets into our drinking water. So what is it that we can do? One lesson comes to us. A good example from Brazil. This is an ancient experiment of Brazil, very little known earlier, but today it's gained prominence. The moment we talk about Amazon, we think of dense jungles, isn't it? But a large part of Amazon is a grassland. Excess rainfalls leaches out nutrient, only grass grows there. It's called llanos. But earlier visitors were surprised to find that even in that grassland, there are patches of forest. Interestingly, circular patches of forest. So it is not natural. 200 years back, the expeditions brought back samples from there. Analysis showed that there was about 9% of carbon in that, very high content of carbon in it. If you look at the soil, you find a black soil. They called it the Terra Preta de Indio, the black soil of the Indians. Archaeologists, looking back, they said between 800 BC and 700 AD, about 700 years, the people of this area, what they have done is, they have produced charcoal and they have put it in soil. The moment they put charcoal in the soil, the nutrient, instead of leaching out, was held back by the charcoal, and the forest grew back, and the nutrient produced by the forest was conserved. So today there are standing forest emits anywhere from 20 hectares to 200 hectares. That is the size of the forest I am talking about, which has this rich soil. This has a very important clue. Why the Indians did it, why they stopped, we don't know. No tales tell us of this. But today the evidence is very clear. The great-grandchildren of these are mining the soil and selling it as garden mixture for a living. Because I'm a child of Western Ghats and I'm very concerned about it. If we need to retain the biodiversity and the biomass, we need to do some intelligent investment. If part of the biomass that is produced is converted to charcoal and put back in soil, we can develop a regenerative system of conservation. So biochar, what it does is, this is charcoal produced in a clean way so that there are no residuals in that. It enhances nutrient retention, which is very important, and increases the bioavailability. Enhances moisture retention, which is very important for us. Inhibits nutrient leaching into ground. Improves soil quality, fertility, crop. Sounds like music to me. This is all what we are looking for. And reduces emission of gases from the ground, because carbon is a very good absorber for gases. This is a living example. In Tirunelveli Valley, there is an organization called SCAD, where there is an experiment on soil fertility, where biochar is being produced, lab and field experiments are taking place. But interestingly, in Tuticorin, if I go, there are farmers who are practicing. They have not learnt about Brazil. They have learnt it of desperation, because fertilizer was running out. They had charcoal available from the paddy burning, which they had started applying. This man is a man called Pattu Murugesan, a progressive farmer who has been practicing it for the past 6 years. I used to visit him repeatedly to see what the result is. What he has done is he has planted banana, made a trench around it. He has mixed biochar with fertilizer so that it gets charged, absorbed and retained, and it is buried inside the soil. He has dug up to show me the result. And this is a very dry land. It is drip irrigated. At the base of it is put also leguminous plants, which is going to mulch back as manure. Simple practice, very good result. I couldn't resist my interest, so I kept visiting him first year, second year, third year. Third year, he had changed the crop from banana, he had grown vegetables with excellent results. So this is a permanent investment in soil. So nature's capital, we should use it only as a capital, not as an income. So one way to do it is use it very respectfully. What makes biochar even more interesting is, we are all worried about the carbon increase in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide increasing, and climate change. So we are trying to plant a lot of trees, good. But can we catch back the carbon dioxide, carbon sequestration? We think that only industries can do it. We are led to believe by scientists that huge industries are required to do it. No. One simple act that you and me can do can make a big difference. That is making biochar. What it means is, what is causing the carbon dioxide problem is the fossil fuels. A one-time deposit of fossil fuel, when it is burnt, it increases the carbon dioxide. Plant, when it is burnt, what carbon dioxide it has absorbed, it is releasing back. So it is only a cycling that is taking place. Now imagine, I grow a lot of biomass and I burn it in such a way, instead of just burning away, I do in such a way, I produce charcoal and make use of the heat, while charcoal is a byproduct. And I put the charcoal back. So process is called carbon neutral. Burning a wood is carbon neutral. It doesn't add to the net value of carbon. If you make the combustion efficient, you become carbon negative. And if you produce charcoal like this and put it to soil, if the same biomass had come to soil, within a matter of 5 to 10 years, it would have become carbon dioxide and methane. But charcoal is stable for 1,000 years in the soil. So carbon sequestration is done. So this is a win-win situation. We should look at synergistic solutions so that we not only solve a problem for the present, but for posterity. So with that, I present my lecture. It's open for discussion. I thank you for your attention.
It's really looking fascinating, and I was wondering why we are not doing. Now, what is the biggest challenge in implementing many of these, which we should surely be doing?
Very, very million-dollar question. Today, sustainability is coming up in our minds. Solutions are there. We resist. In India, I think we don't want to be the pioneers. We always want to be the people who... I am very hopeful because younger generation today, India is getting younger. In a matter of 5 years, 65% of India will be young. They are listening. They are looking for sustainable solutions.
Particularly appropriate considering the fact that the world's most emancipated country has opted out of the Paris Climate Agreement. So it clearly proves that education and science and development is no index of environmental awareness. So the question is, until now, all this knowledge that we have had, whether it's the 800-year-old step wells and water harvesting practices or maintaining, sustaining biodiversity, practice of it has been optional. How do we bridge this gap from optional practice to mandatory implementation?
This is a very sensitive question. The kind of developmental problem that it's an act of law. See, we are doing too much of thinking. We are too cerebral. Somewhere we have to think from the heart. You must do something. Instead of giving a lecture on recycling, they don't have resources. We gave a simple solution, shift the bathroom. They were all boys. Shift the bathroom to the fields. They built 4 bathrooms and were proudly doing it. Then I told them one simple thing. You hold the urine, their bathroom very proudly showing, uncle, come and see my bathroom and all that. They were managing. Then hesitantly I asked them about, what about urine application? They said, uncle, that day itself we started, now 2 acres is over, now very little is left. We are not letting children think for themselves. We are supplementing their thinking and imposing our thoughts on them. But these children didn't have, they had great faith in Ravi Kumar. So I mentioned it. From the next day they were practicing it. They didn't have a hesitation about it. So this is where it is. The knowledge is there, but there is a lot of hesitation. So we should keep that hope in the children and vibe with their thinking.
Any more questions?
I thank Asset Homes, Mr. Sunil Kumar, and Organic BPS for inviting me here to be able to share my thoughts with you. Because Kerala is close to my heart, and I'm glad to be sharing it with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Sri N. Mohanan, Director, Asset Homes, UN Ravikumar Nulla Ubaharam. Sri N. Mohanan, Sri B.K. Madhav Mohan, Dr. Babu T. Jose എന്നിവർ ചേർന്ന് സമ്മാനിക്കുന്നു. Thank you, sir. The latest in Asset Homes' long list of innovations is Team 3A. 3A stands for Authorized Asset Advisor. Asset Homes has formed a dynamic team of specialists in marketing who will support the marketing and sales department of Asset Homes by connecting and interacting with the company's prospective customers in India and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of Team 3A. Another innovative service from Asset Homes, the responsible builder. Mr. Sunil Kumar D, our Managing Director, and Mr. James Combs of Top Solutions have launched Team 3A. Bring us with your presence, triggering positive interactions and introspections, as well as supporting us in this journey of exploration and discovery of newer and better means of sustainable living.